it has been interesting that the Nick Daicos situation, it's been interestingly handled by the Magpies, and I get the feeling now that every time his name gets brought up, it's creating more tension at Collingwood. It was probably the first time that I can ever remember a little bit of tension in the coach's voice when Craig McRae was asked about it at a midweek media conference.
All I'll say about Nick and Josh is that they are absolutely thriving in our environment. You know, they're extremely well paid, so they should be, and they are in career best form, and they train as good as anyone we've ever had, and so thriving and well looked after. That's all we can control, isn't it?
Yeah, you guys answer, because you've been around footy for a lot longer than me as players and as people in the media. How often do you hear a coach referring to players as extremely well paid?
What are you getting at, Sam? I want you to get straight to it. What are you getting at? What I'm getting at is that he's got 2 years left of a contract. I think the coach is sick of 3 years. The coach is probably sick of it, thinking, well, he's got 3 years. And I think he said the last time I checked, he's got 3 years left on a contract.
Yeah, but they're trying to sign him for life, and he doesn't want to. That's why. Yeah. That's why it's getting brought up all the time.
The well-paid reference, sorry, Lloydie, to jump in. I feel like he put that in because the discussion using, obviously, Tassie is the obvious other part of this discussion because of their signing bonuses. I felt like McRae put the payment bit in that sentence because, well, the only reason Nick's going to go to Tassie is because of the enormous amount of money. So I think he was referencing, well, if you're just worried about him just moving for more money, well, he's getting well paid. That's just how I took that.
And I suppose what Chris Fagan's had a go at St Kilda and about is that you can't pay someone $2 million and win a premiership. I think you can't. Can you? Yeah,
I think that's debatable. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's caused great debate.
Yeah, well, I'm saying I'd probably agree with Chris in that you can't pay someone $2 million.
Yeah, well, Jimmy's old club Geelong and the Swans would absolutely agree with you.
Well, Dave Matthews of the Giants referenced this only a week ago. He said the same thing.
So Nick's just got to work out. Say, for example, if he's saying he would extend, that what is it worth to play for Collingwood and what is it worth to be a chance to win a premiership versus being the highest paid player in the game and then you lose others from your football club?
I absolutely buy into the notion and the Sir Alex Ferguson famous quote of no one's bigger than the football club. There are very few players that come along that transcend that. Very, very few. Nick Daicos might end up being one of those. His brand might be so big that he's going to be okay wherever he goes. I think, look, the elephant in the room and the taboo thing that no one really wants to talk about at Collingwood is because of what they have done in the trade space in the last few years, because of what they have done with their list, with kicking the can down the road, there is a belief that the only way, one of the ways back into the draft may be getting an absolute king's ransom for Nick Daicos. You could get 4 or 5 first-round picks for him. Now, no one at Collingwood wants to lose Nick Daicos. No one. But the reality of the situation is they have tried to re-sign him for a long time. He is waiting. He's waiting to see what happens with Tasmania. They're not going to be the only club that come with a big offer for him. And given what is happening, Jimmy, with Collingwood's list, we've done this on Footy Classified. They're going to lose Pendlebury, who we're going to talk about, and I'll put this to him about the state of their list. They're going to lose Howe.
Side bottom.
And there's probably Crisp in a couple of years. They have to find a way to somehow get some youth back in because they've traded Ginnivan, they've traded Noble, they've traded Richards. I think what Collingwood is doing with their list, by the way, is really courageous. They're in it to win flags. But if you don't do it, the bottom can come out pretty quick.
So I want to ask you, Sam, when you talk about people around Collingwood, about the King's Ransom, and are they people of note who would have that say, or is it in terms of, and does that mean they could do it in the next 12 months?
Well, I think this comes down to, again, why one of the reasons Nick is waiting. He wants to see what happens with Collingwood's list. He wants to see what happens with Tasmania. Would anyone be surprised if Collingwood played in preliminary final week this weekend? This year?
I wouldn't rule it out.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it would be a complete shock to anyone. Would people be surprised if they finished bottom 5 or 6? I don't think it would be a huge shock either.
Can I ask you, Sam, is this only a discussion because of Tassie, or is this a Collingwood discussion? So
I think it's both. I think one's led into the other. Right. But it's a great question. Would we be having the same discussion around Nick Daicos if Tassie didn't exist? It's a great question.
And is Nick's biggest motivation winning or money?
You'd have to ask Nick that. I don't know. I don't know, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of him, but he is, and he's said this publicly on the record, he's close with Gary Ablett. He watched with great interest with what Gary Ablett did with the Gold Coast Suns. And again, I think the players that move to create franchises and be the faces of them, Jimmy, sometimes the legacy is bigger than... He's already won a premiership here at Collingwood. He's going to be extremely well paid wherever he goes.
Hey, Jimmy, can I just ask Sam one last one? And you believe it's becoming a problem for Collingwood internally, this matter of whether he stays or he goes?
I think that it's created a bit of tension that they would otherwise like to have avoided.
It certainly created tension, the best and fairest, so much so, Sam, Craig McRae said we need to change the voting system, which they've done.
Yeah, so
for exceptional games. That was what Craig McRae said.
So for those who are listening tonight that aren't aware of that situation, my understanding is that the Copeland Trophy last year, it was made clear to a member of the Daicos family that Nick wasn't going to win it, and that information led to Peter, for whatever reason, deciding to leave the count early. Now, I haven't put that to Peter. I put that to people at Collingwood, but it's not. That's my understanding of what's happened. Look, make of what you will for that. All I would say is I think it was a shock to everyone inside and outside of Collingwood that Darcy Cameron beat Nick Daicos in the Copeland Trophy. So much so that, as you just pointed out, Jimmy, they've changed the rules.
Just on that, though, Chris, I'm sure you might ask Bontempelli over the years the same question. He's never left. So he's saying, why would he leave when he's got all this money elsewhere? Well, there's players absolutely everywhere. You know, I know the times I couldn't bring myself to ever leave it through my time.
And you would have had offers
yeah,
too,
like
as well.
In Jimmy, Jimmy.
No one ever gave for me.
Sure,
ridiculous.
But I'm just saying, I know this is bigger money than anyone will have ever seen before in terms of Chris's point, but a lot have knocked back a lot of money to start their clubs.
Yes, Daicos and the Collingwood go hand in hand or side by side, as they say. But Ablett and Geelong is just as connected.
I'm with Nick in that you can try and build your future with 4 first-rounders, but can any of these 4... Can you hope that they get near it? That's the thing. And it's the type of...
You'll be looking for the next Nick Daicos.
I heard Kenny Hinkley today over the last few days talk on radio, the ratio, the percentage of... If you're drafted from 1 to 10, the percentages are like maybe, I don't know, what is it, 30% that you might be a superstar player.
Yep.
Then if you're 10 to 20, it drops right down, and 30 to 40, 30 onwards, it's just very rare. It's like maybe a 10, 15%. So that's the thing that even if you got 4... I don't think it's hard to imagine anyone can get
They
close.
could be 3, 6, 9 and 12, though.
Yeah,
but still, if you go look at the history of 3, 6, 9 and 12, they're not anything amazing.
You'll be looking for the next Nick Daicos, and you've already got him in your room.
So I totally agree with what you're both saying. I guess my bottom line on this, a little bit like Carlton with Curnow, I think Collingwood's job in the next few years, besides winning a premiership, is selling the future of the club to Nick Daicos so that it doesn't get to a point where he says, I'd like to go.
Well,
because if it gets to that point, then they've got an issue.